Welcome to episode 7 of Banded the Encore. I'm your host, Ashley Live. Joining us for tonight's show are the incredible judges, Mark Schulman, Diarra Sylla, and DJ Swivel. Their ongoing dedication to offering insightful critiques has played a pivotal role in every band's progress and development throughout season 1. My first guest is Mark Schulman. Mark is an accomplished drummer with a career spanning over 30 years. He has performed with Pink, Cher, Billy Idol, Foreigner, Sheryl Crow, and countless others. Mark has been recognized as one of the top pop rock drummers, gracing the cover of Modern Drummer magazine. His impressive resume includes record-breaking world tours with Pink and performances at festivals like Ozfest and Glastonbury. In addition to his drumming, Mark is a classically trained cellist, music producer, educator, and co-owner of West Triad Recording Studio. Hey Mark, how are you?
How you doing, Ashley? What an honor.
I'm
And that was quite an
of
intro,
course.
by the way. Thank you very much.
Mark, I honestly could go on about you for days, but I had to kind of minimize what I was about to say.
Well, I appreciate it. It was magnifico.
Awesome. So how's everything going?
Everything is absolutely fantastic. The one thing that you didn't mention is that I've actually left being a touring drummer to be a
Hmm.
keynote corporate activator, motivator, speaker. And that is what I do most of the time, in addition to when I'm not on the show and doing sessions. So I've actually left the road after 13 years. After
Yeah.
32 years. Well, I'm saying 13. Wow. 32 years of being on the road. I was with Pink for 15 years.
Wow. Amazing. So you went from touring everywhere to kind of just doing your own thing and giving people good advice and keynote speaking.
Yeah, I use the platform to develop a very unique approach. I call it a rock show disguised as a keynote. I still play drums and I tell road stories and I
Hmm.
have really exciting, activating video, but I have some very specific corporate relevant content on the power of attitude. And that's what I speak about. So that's why, as you notice on the show, that I really work hard to put out a very specific attitude of positivity. I mean, I'm critical, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I always
Yeah.
like to do it in a way I believe that people are a lot more receptive to receiving communication and receiving critique if you certainly endorse all of their positive, all the positive aspects first. So I have a lot of fun with it on the phone, on the show, and when I speak live.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing that you focus on positivity, but you also are saying, "Hey, you need to work on this, but like I'm coming from a place of love because I want you to get better."
Absolutely. Well, I think that everybody's coming from a place of love. We all just have a different way of communicating. And what I love about working with Swiv is just like, bam, he just like nails it. So he may not be as concerned with making somebody feel like they've done well first. He'll just come right in with a critique. My thing is, I want to soften you up and talk about what you've done well, and then I'm going to come in
Hmm.
with a critique because a critique is really the point of the show. The critique and the ability for the musicians to learn, and the audience is learning the same time that the musicians are learning. So that's what really makes it extraordinary, is we are seeing these performances for the first time. I mean, we might have heard like a one rehearsal run through, but we don't know these
Yeah.
songs, we don't know these performances. So when the audience hears it, we're hearing it too. So this is
Yeah.
genuine, just spontaneous communication coming from us based on all of our own independent instincts, independent experience, and independent backgrounds, because we all come from very different backgrounds. That's what makes it so exciting.
Hmm. Definitely. Yeah, and I think it's cool because you take all your backgrounds and then you're able to hear these songs on the spot and be like, "Hey, this is what we think. This is where you can get better. This is what you did correct."
Well, we're trying to create world-class acts. So, of course,
Yeah.
it begins with the song, but then
Yeah.
the performance, the staging, the attitude on stage, the movements, the resonance between the members. I mean, there are so many components that activate a great band. And the greatest bands, I don't care if you're talking about the Stones, the Beatles, Foo Fighters, Imagine Dragons, whomever, the greatest bands could not have had the magnitude of their success without any or all of the members because it truly is the collective influence, intelligence, connection, and communication that makes the some better than the parts. And you know that because if you pull the bands apart, and most of these solo acts are not as good as the original bands. And that's why it's a little bit unfair to put so much focus on, as example, the lead singer, because the lead singer might be the front person. But as an example with the Rolling Stones, Charlie Watts started the band. So it was his band, really. So if you take, I mean, Charlie Watts is now passed. We've lost him. But
Yeah.
people think about, oh, Jagger and Keith Richards, but Charlie Watts was just as instrumental and just as influential and had just as much of an impact on the success of that band. Same thing with the Beatles
Mm-hmm.
with Ringo. Same thing with all the
Yeah.
members of the Foo Fighters or Imagine Dragons. There may be some members that might be a little bit more involved in the writing or the production or the decision making. But if you remove any of the components, the magic is gone. And that's why this
Yeah.
show is so special. It's about this, it's the study and the cultivation of the bands and the band energy, as opposed to just the solo artist, which is a very, very different approach when you're dealing with music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you collectively want all of them to come together.
Absolutely. And what
Mm-hmm.
is the most fascinating and crazy part about this show is these musicians were put together. I mean, I grew
Yeah.
up playing in bands. It's hard enough just to find musicians that agree with you and come from the same background, and then you're nurturing and then you're staying together, and it might take you months to write a song. These people were
Right.
thrown together, and you're going to be in this band with this person who you don't know, you've never met. They are completely different. They have completely different influences, different age, different gender, different preferences, and
Yeah.
you're going to create a unified all-star band. And it's really profound how amazing these bands are doing. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that, okay, we're going to have one or two great bands. Really, all the bands are coming through in their own way,
Yeah.
provocatively well. If you think about it from that standpoint and how crazy it is that they were thrown together, that they didn't know each other 2, 3 months, they had never met 2, 3 months before they were on this show. And they're not only writing a song in a week, they're learning how they're creating parts and they're learning how to stage it and they're learning how to do their movements. Of course, they have these all star mentors, but even with the all star mentors, it's still down to them. They're the band
Yeah.
members, it's their band, it's their choices. In the end, it's what they do. And that
Mm-hmm.
is profound. Really think
Yeah.
about that for a minute. How
Yeah.
amazing and how profound that is. I mean, that's why we're so shocked at the quality of what's coming out. And a friend of mine
Yeah.
said that to me. He's a real music critic. I mean, he critiques everything. He said, I cannot believe how extraordinary these bands are. It's just
Yeah.
astounding.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think they bring it each week, right? They're writing, recording, performing, energy, getting to know each
Yeah.
other. There's so many elements that people, when they see it on TV, they don't understand all the hard work that goes into that.
Oh my gosh, people really, if you've never been in a band and you've never experienced that, you would have no reference point. Anybody that's been in a band, I think, goes, oh my God, this is really profound what they've been able to create and how
Yeah,
evolved they've become. If you look at the second
totally.
episode, which is the first live episode up to where we are now, episode 7, these bands have had this trajectory that is just absolutely marvelous. I am so
Yeah,
was so proud of them, and
yeah.
they all win. In the end, they all win. And I think what's also great about the show is nobody gets kicked off the show. So you truly get to
Yeah.
see the evolution. It may be a
Mm-hmm.
competition, but you are actually witnessing real evolution. and really them actually really becoming bands from the start to
Mm-hmm.
the finish. At the beginning, they're not bands yet. They're a bunch of people
Yeah.
getting together and getting to know each other, and getting to know each other's quirks and personalities and nuances as players and nuances as singers and movements. And there's so many nuances and details that go into the success of a world-class band. And we don't know who the winner is yet, but I'll tell you,
Yeah.
there are at least a few of these bands that are absolutely world class. And you could put them on
Mm-hmm.
a stage right now, either by themselves, in a festival with other bands, or opening up for a major band, and they would blow people away right now.
Yeah.
And that is profound.
Definitely.
When you think about how long it takes, people talk about these bands that are overnight successes. I remember there was a joke about the Goo Goo Dolls, like, well, they were overnight success. Yeah, after being together for 15 years, they had their overnight success. That's what it's generally
Yeah.
like. They're generally together for a long time. And then the perception of the general public is, oh, the overnight success. It's like, that's the farthest thing from a truth.
Yeah. So, what do you find most rewarding about being a part of the show?
Being able to support these musicians and give them information that is going to bring them to the next level. I realized about 10 years ago that my life is about being of service. And I know this sounds a little corny, but I woke up one day and I said, everything I do is truly about being of service. Whether I'm on stage playing with Pink as the drummer, whether I'm giving a speech, whether I'm helping my daughter with her homework, and so I'm all about being of service. So that's the most rewarding thing to me is how much service can I provide to make to launch these people and to help them evolve.
Yeah. That's powerful because you're part of this journey that they're
Yeah.
all on, and they can always remember, oh my gosh, Mark said this about our performance or this specific song.
Yeah, and that is designed to enhance them to be better and to enhance who they are individually and collectively. Whether they win on the show or not, the idea for me is that everybody have this experience that has completely changed their life and completely enhanced
Right.
their life, completely made them better people, better musicians, better band members, better communicators, because that's all critical in life. And that's what I want for them.
Definitely. Mark, well, that's all the time that we have for this evening. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And we will see what happens and who wins. I'm really
We
excited to
will.
see. We only have, I'm so excited. We have one more episode left.
Oh my gosh, I know. And
It's
we're all
crazy.
gonna we're all gonna be surprised because we all don't know. It's gonna
We
be
don't
amazing.
know.
Thank you so much for this time, Ashley. I'm really grateful to have been able to communicate and be on your show. And you're a
Yes.
fantastic host, and good luck with everything. And we will be celebrating together.
We will. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mark. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon.
VeriJet, the best way to travel in a safe, environmentally sensitive, state-of-the-art jet aircraft. VeriJet is changing the way people in the know travel. It gets you where you want to be based on your schedule, not the airlines. No hassle. Fly in perfect comfort, convenience, and safety. Next time you need to fly, fly private. Check out VeriJet. It's more affordable than you may think. Everybody is talking about VeriJet.
In 15 years, you drink about 15,000 cups of coffee. So Colgate created Optic White Pro Series toothpaste with the power to remove 15 years of stains for a Pro Series smile. Colgate Optic White Pro Series.
Thanks for hanging out with us on Bandit the Encore. I'm your host, Ashley Live. My next guest is Judge DJ Swivel. Swivel is a Grammy winning producer and mixer who's collaborated with Jay-Z, Beyonce, Britney Spears, and countless others. In 2014, he founded Headliner Magazine and SKIO Music, a marketplace for licensing and remixing. Swivel's artistry soared to new heights while collaborating with the Chainsmokers on their hits Don't Let Me Down and Closer. His contributions to the album series Love Yourself and Map of the Soul by BTS have solidified Swivel's position as an industry visionary. Hey Swivel, how's your night going?
Hi, Ashley. It's going well. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for hanging out with us on the podcast.
Of course, I'm glad to be here. We're approaching the end of the season here, so yeah, I had to show some face.
Of course, of course. So, can you share some insights into your journey from starting out in the music industry to becoming a Grammy-winning producer?
Sure. Yeah, it was a long journey, an enjoyable one, a fun one. I started. I'm originally from Toronto. I moved to New York City in 2005, and I landed, or the end of 2005, and then I landed my first internship with second, but the first real one at the beginning of January in 2006 with a guy named Duro, who became my mentor, and I sort of learned the ropes under him. He was a multi-Grammy winning producer, engineer himself, and he kind of taught me the ropes. And through that, I became Fabulous's engineer. Fabulous was one of his artists. And then I kind of just, worked my way up year over year and continued to sort of build on the credits that I had built and the songs that I had done. And then I got a call I think it was 2010, from Beyonce's team to go and work with her. And that was like a huge moment for my career and definitely gave me it was sort of like just a big opportunity that allowed me to sort of get in front of new eyes and new people and new other talented people. And then I worked with her for a couple of years, and I did her 4 album. I was her engineer. And then I sort of it was funny. There was a couple of years there where I finished working with her, and then I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, because once you record an artist like Beyonce, it's like, well, what's next? Like, do you go back and record I don't want to say lesser artists, but when you're working with Beyonce, you feel like you're working on something that's going to be special no matter what. So I decided to sort of reinvent my career and focus on mixing and production. And throughout that period, I also became a bit of an entrepreneur and started Skio Music, which is a tech platform, and also Headliner Magazine. And so that was sort of the beginning of me sort of leveling up. And then throughout that period, I also met the Chainsmokers and sort of helped them produce and create their string of hits. And the second song I ever worked on with them was Don't Let Me Down. And we won a Grammy for that about a year after we made the song. We won a Grammy for it, or a year and a half maybe. So it was an amazing experience. And since then, I went on and did Closer with them and Something Just Like This in Paris. And then I connected with BTS and wrote about 10 songs for BTS. And most recently, I'm with an artist named Rema, who's crushing it right now. I think we have the number 3 song in the country with Calm Down, Rema and Selena Gomez. So I've been doing all of Rema's music. Yeah. And then, also launching a new AI music venture at the moment, which a little top secret, but we'll talk about that soon.
Ooh, I love that, because I feel like, especially with music and AI and how it's all coming together, there's a lot going on in the AI space.
There's a lot of interesting stuff and a lot of problems to solve. And so we're attempting to solve, I think, a very unique problem, and I'm really excited about it. So that's kind of been the focus for the last few months here.
Nice. Well, let us know when this project is officially announced. This is so cool. So as someone who's worked with artists like the Chainsmokers, Beyonce, BTS, and countless others, how do you balance commercial success while making sure the music resonates with the artist's vision?
Well, I think it all comes down to taste and ultimately the artist you're working with. Different artists are going to want to achieve different things with their records, and some are going to want commercial success, and others are going to want to focus purely on a creative vision. And the ones who do it the best sort of, they succeed at both sides of it, right? How do you make something that is creatively interesting and innovative and new and fresh, but also be commercially viable. And in order to do that, you have to take a risk, because by attempting something new, there is the risk that people won't respond to it. And so that's where you get the magic. That's where amazing things happen. But my job ultimately is to serve the artist. And so it's the artist's vision. As a producer, we are contributing to that vision, and we are able to offer direction and coaching and things like that. But at the end of the day, ultimately, you want the artist to be happy. You want them to enjoy performing the music that you guys create. And it's important because they are going to live with those songs for the rest of their career. They may have to perform that song for the rest of their lives. Whereas for me, when I finish working on a record, I don't really have to think about it a whole lot. I can move on to the next one. And so it's really important. You're letting the artist sort of have the final say and decide here's what the vision is. And so, it's just sort of working with the artists and finding what they want and finding ways to achieve it. And hopefully you cover both sides of it.
Yeah, because you want to be true to their artistry, but you also want to chart.
It's got to be, you want to make, look, we all want to make songs that do well. Ultimately, it is still the music business. There is a career behind it. Now, where it gets tricky is when you start compromising the creative vision just to sell a few extra records. And that is usually a pretty fleeting thing and doesn't usually last. The artists who really last are usually innovators and people who do take risks and do try new things. And so as a producer, my job is to sort of bring that out of them and also just find those ways to inject a little bit of the stickiness so that a modern audience is going to get it.
Definitely. And then you think of Beyonce's Renaissance, right? Like she took a huge risk with that. It sounded like nothing she'd ever done before.
Oh yeah, the new record's like very EDM but it's EDM, but it's got soul and it's like her own brand of it. And of course, huge risk for her. And I think when the record came out, at least from my what I recall when it came out and was just reading comments and what people were saying. There was a mixed reaction at first. It wasn't like a universally acclaimed thing right away. It was a bit of a mixed reaction, like what is she doing? And then it took people a second, and once they gave it a shot, they were like, "Oh my God, this is my jam!" And some people, this is like their favorite Beyonce album. So, and it was similar when I did 4 with her. Also, the same thing. 4 kind of became like this throwback R&B album. But people at the time, they wanted another Single Ladies. They wanted another big pop monster smash. And what they got was Love on Top. And, I think Love on Top is an incredible record and super innovative. And she does these like 4 or 5 key changes at the end and pitch modulations at the end. A very unique thing that, sometimes you'll get 1 pitch modulation, but to get 5 is a bit, out there. And, we weren't sure how that was, people were going to respond to that, but we were excited about it, and we thought it was really showcased her talent. It was a great song. It took people a minute to get it, but then once they did, now it's like one of her top songs. If you look on Spotify, I think outside of maybe what's like brand new right now, that's the one that stood the test of time. So, sometimes you got to let it marinate with people before they get it.
Definitely. I totally agree with Love on Top. I remember the first time I heard that song, I was like, whoa. And then you hear her hit all those notes at the end and you're like, only Beyonce can do
only
this.
Her.
As a judge on Banded, what specific criteria do you consider when evaluating the songs performed by the band?
So I felt that my job on the judges panel was to be, I was the producer on the panel. So I'm the one who's writing songs and creating songs and crafting them and mixing them and getting into all the technical details of it. So I'm thinking a lot about lyrics. I'm thinking a lot about arrangement. I'm thinking a lot about the overall, like the production style. I'm also thinking of performance, because as a producer, like we are sort of the barometers of in many ways, the barometers of what's cool or what's hot or what's good. That's really a producer's job, is to make sure that the artists are, I don't want to say drawing in the lines, because you actually do want artists to draw outside the lines often. But, making sure we're doing it in a really clever way and in a way that we think people are going to, love. And so I took the approach of being the technical person and trying to nitpick all of the ways that I would improve either the song, the songwriting, the production, the arrangement, and of course also the performance. So I felt like sometimes I had to be maybe, I don't want to say the mean judge, but the brutally honest judge. But I think ultimately that's what, for an artist to be great, you need to be okay hearing no. You need to be okay hearing that's not good. You can do better. Because if you don't hear that, then you just have a bunch of yes people around you saying, yeah, that was awesome, that's great. And the audience doesn't care about that. As an audience, either the song is good or it's not. And you are not going to convince me that a song that I don't like is good. So artists need to be able to have that thick skin, and I sort of brought that energy to the judging panel.
I love it though. I think it's so important to be brutally honest, because you're right. You don't want to be surrounded by yes men, because when you're around yes men, you cannot evolve and get better as an artist.
No, not at all. And I think it's one of the most important skills or traits that a great artist needs to have is you want to have your vision and you want to be consistent with your vision. But you also want to recognize when somebody may offer an opposing vision, and you need to sort of remove your ego and accept that critique. And it doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but at minimum, accept it, listen to it, and then use your judgment to figure out where to go from here. As a judge, as a producer, it's not my job to give you the answer. We work in a creative field, and so there isn't always a perfect answer, but sometimes it's just a matter of saying, well, I know that one is not it, so let's just try something else. Yeah. I think that's an important thing for all artists to be able to sort of take in that criticism and grow from it.
Yeah, definitely. Can you share a challenging situation you encountered while critiquing a band's performance on the show?
Sure. So the one that comes to mind is Monochromatic's The Power Ballad episode. I think it was episode 5. They kind of switched up their entire format. So every episode up until that point, they were kind of this like pop, R&B, soul group. And it was sort of led, and the dynamic was the Olians, the Leahona and her brother, and Leahona was kind of the lead singer. Her brother would do background vocals, and sometimes he would sing lead and he'd play guitar. And that was sort of the dynamic. They were sort of the brother-sister duo up front, and then they had a great band behind them. And on that episode, they decided to totally switch it up. And Alicia, who was the keyboard, she was playing keys for the band. She decided to be the lead singer. And I don't know whose decision it was, so I wasn't in the room when that decision was made, of course. But ultimately, the group decided that Alicia would sing this song, and it just was a completely different thing. It felt very campy. It felt very like 80s kind of, almost like 80s like power ballad, I guess, but in not in a modern way. It felt old and dated. It didn't feel like cool, like it was done in a cool way. And so, it was frustrating because I was really rooting for them as a group. They had already won, I think, at least one episode by then. I think they ended up winning 2. Yeah, I mean, they were on the road to success, and then they came with this, and to me it was just not a great performance at all, and there was no identity there, and I just didn't really understand why that decision making was there. And the other thing is, like, you don't see artists just like cycling out. It's not like a basketball team where somebody needs a break. Let's throw is the drummer going to start singing? Like, there is you need a front person. And that front person doesn't just have to be a great performer, but the audience has to love that person. And so it's very difficult But when you've programmed an audience to love your lead singer and then you throw the keyboard player up there, they don't know that person. The energy totally shifts. And so it just didn't feel like it was a band anymore. It felt like it was a bunch of performers fighting for a spotlight. And so that was, I kind of drilled them a little bit, and I was very honest with them. But they came back the next week and did a great job. So maybe they needed that.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about consistency of a band, right, and you say, oh, the drummer's going to sing next or the bassist is going to sing, it's just like we know who were the front people before. And
and the O'Lyons, they grew up together. They're brother and sister. They there was chemistry there. It made sense. Now, whether you like the music or not, that's up for debate. That's a subjective thing. But as far as performers, it made a lot of sense. When you threw them in the background and then Alicia came to the foreground, it just kind of, it felt like it was trying to be maybe a little bit the Alicia show, and just didn't really sit well with me. So yeah, that was one where, and I got booed for it. I was, not everybody was happy with that critique, but I stand by it. I think that was the wrong choice that week.
Yeah, but I do appreciate you being so honest, because like you said before, if you're a musician, you need to know how to have a strong backbone and take that criticism. Like, oh, maybe we messed up there. Like maybe that was a bad decision on our end. Right?
And to her credit, Alicia and I, we spoke backstage, and we had I was running into them every day on the set, and she was totally cool about it. Like she didn't, she got it. I think collectively as a group they understood, and then they came back the next week and had a great week and a great performance. So, sometimes you need to hear it.
Yeah. So how do you strike a balance between providing constructive criticism but also maintaining a supportive environment for the bands?
Well, I think all of my criticism is constructive. I wasn't trying to be the obvious parallel here would be like the Simon Cowell parallel, and that was certainly not the intent and not the goal. And there was no cheap shots, and there was no snarky remarks, and I wasn't trying to make fun of anybody or create jokes out of it. I always approached my critiques with as much honesty. Literally, whether the cameras were on or not, if you were in my studio and you performed that, it is the same thing I would tell you if you were in my studio. We would fix it. We would try something different, but it was with the same energy there. And the goal is, I'm not trying to make friends. I'm trying to encourage artists to be their best and reach whatever the height of the greatness that's inside of them can be. Let me help, peel back the layers to find that. And so, that was my approach to it. And I felt like I wasn't too concerned about creating a super huggy environment. It wasn't about that. It's like, making it in the music industry and being an artist and a successful artist is really hard. One of the hardest things in the world you can do. Yeah. I know a lot of people on the outside might think, oh, it's easy. They just get up on stage and sing, and that's their God-given talent, and it's so easy for them. Like, oh my God, it could not be further from the truth. When I always use this as the example. A lot of people think Beyonce is so great because she has this amazing voice and she's beautiful and she can dance as better than anybody, and she can sing and dance at the same time. Those are all wonderful traits, and all of those traits make her great. But the thing that truly makes her great is that she works harder than anybody I've ever met in my entire life, and there is no question about it. She will sit in the studio. We spent 36 hours in the studio one time, 36 hours awake, no naps, no breaks. Wow. Like we were eating and recording at the same, like we would be comping vocals while we're eating lunch, while we're eating dinner. She'd have her lawyer come for a meeting, her video director come for a meeting, get back in the studio, sing another song. She sang 6 songs that day. We finished 6 songs, which is insane. If I'm lucky, if I get one song done with a singer, rappers, it's a little easier. Rappers, you can get a few songs done in a day. But singers, where you have to comp vocals and cut backgrounds and stacks and harmonies and all that stuff, you get one song done in a day. That's a really great day. She did 6. And so I use that as an example because despite all the amazing talents that she has, none of those talents would matter if she didn't put in the work. And so you got to be willing to do that, go the extra mile and do that thing to be great, because the other artists who you're competing with, they are going to do that. So, you have to be able to take criticism and just keep moving forward, keep pressing. And that's the mark of success in an artist for me.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that story about Beyonce because, right, we all see her. She's amazing. But 36 hours, I'm just trying to be in that situation, be like, 36 hours, like, that's why she is where she is, because she is putting in the work more so than any of these
Yeah,
people.
and that wasn't like, there was many days where we did 24-hour sessions, like we'd spend all night and go home at 2 p.m. the next day. So that was not like some abnormality. That was sort of generally a regular thing. Certainly 18-hour days were that was par for the course, Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. And thank you for coming on the podcast today, Swivel. It was so
this
much
was awesome.
fun.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
So I'm excited to see who's going to win. We're nearing the end now.
We are.
We'll find out, I guess, next week.
We will. We'll find out next Saturday. All of us are in this together because nobody knew who won, except for like maybe 2 or 3 producers, but everybody else is in the dark. Awesome. Thanks so much, Swivel. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll be in touch.
Bye.
Welcome back to Banded, the Encore. I'm your host, Ashley Live. My final guest for tonight is Judge Diarra Sylla. Diarra is a French-Senegalese singer, dancer, and model. She made history as the first lead vocalist chosen by Simon Fuller for the global pop group Now United. In 2020, Diarra embarked on her solo career and released singles like Ain't Worried, Set Free, Catch a Vibe, and Contagious. With her trifecta of talent, Diarra aims to make a profound impact in the music industry, including collaborations in TV and fashion. Hey Diarra, how are you?
Hey Ashley, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's your weekend going?
Awesome. It's awesome. How's yours?
Doing well. It's even better now that we're hanging out on the podcast together.
Real. That's true. That's true.
How would you describe your musical style as a solo artist, and how does it differ from your work with Now United?
Well, Now United was more of a pop group. So we were making pop records, and also we had really, really young audience at the startup. And for that reason, our music is very not too mature. So we don't swear in our music. We don't say certain things because we know that there's younger audience listening to it. But when it comes to my solo career, it's a totally different path, because now I am able to speak about stories and things that I can relate to. I'm actually singing about my own lyrics that I write and co-write with amazing writers that I'm working with in LA. So it's totally different. Plus, in Now United, we were used to just getting handed a piece of paper with the music and everything already written. So we just get in the studio and record. So it was easy. But as a solo artist, I'm, learning to make my own music. So from building the beat to writing the lyrics to, the melodies and everything. So it's like a whole new world, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. And it sounds like things were pretty simple with your group, but now as a solo artist, you're able to come into your own as a female and just say, this is who I want to work with. This is what I want to write about. This is what I want to talk about.
For sure, for sure. I feel more I feel more in charge and more like I am taking decisions for my career and what I'm doing. But when you're in a group with such large people, obviously like the staff and everyone, they have plans for the group. So you have to stick along and follow those plans. But when you go solo, it's all about your own decisions, what you want, who you want to work with, how you want to do it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, you know,
Definitely. And it's
for
got to be
sure.
so exciting.
For sure. I'm really, really excited. Just like different experiences working with different producers here and there. Everyone is so talented and you always learn from each person. So it's just really, really exciting, honestly.
Awesome. So, what are some challenges you have faced as a female in the music industry, and how have you managed to overcome them?
Well, I feel like every female that's in the music industry will tell you the same exact thing. Um, there is a lot of like predators like around, especially I don't want to, like say that it's only in the music industry because everywhere you go there's danger. But in the music industry, like it can be frustrating as a female, especially when you're young and good looking. Like there's a lot of male producers out there, and sometimes they don't just care about your talent. Sometimes they want more, and you as a female might not want that. And it can be very difficult to like manage that situation. But um, for me, my way to overcome those situations is to just believe in my talent and just understand that if it didn't work with this person because they didn't want the same thing as I wanted, it didn't
Mhm.
meant to be.
Yeah.
Somebody who actually care about my talent is going to come along, and we're going to have the best work I've ever had before. So that's just how I overcome the situation, because you can never be too safe, especially when you're going out there to studios and different people, and like it can be a lot, for sure. It can be a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think it happens with every female in every industry, not just in music, but even in corporate environments, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, can you share a memorable performance that you witnessed on Banded?
Oh my gosh, I think my favorite banded performance ever is going to be Mirame. Mirame was like unexpected. Like honestly, every band in Band-Aid has such a unique style. And so when you watch them perform, it just like it brings in some sort of like warmth in your heart. Like for me, when I watch every single one of the bands perform, like there's something so original about them. But that day, that week where Monochromatic performed Mira May, I was so surprised. I was like, this is a jam. Like, I could listen to Mira May all the time, literally. It
Yeah.
was really, yeah.
And it was their first song that we heard from them.
I know. I know. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, because you think if this is the first song that we hear that you did as a band, like what else do you have coming down the pipe?
Exactly. Yeah, they really hit us really hard with that record because first week, Mira May, I was just like not ready for it. It was so, so cool. So
So, in what ways has being a judge on Banded influenced your own growth and development?
being a judge on Band-Aid has opened my eyes so, so much because as a young artist, in the industry, it's so easy to be looked at as, oh, you're not at that level to be a judge on a show, or oh, you don't know so much in music that you can give your opinion about other people performing. But the opportunity that Band-Aid gave me to be a judge on this show, literally, I feel like I've grown like many, many years ahead already, because being a judge next to Mark and DJ Swivel was so inspiring, because these are two individuals that are like successful in the industry. They've been doing their thing for years and years, and it is so inspiring to sit next to them and, you know, hear their opinions about certain things and give my own opinions about certain things. And it's just to share a give and take experience. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I had the opportunity to be part of such an amazing experience.
Yeah, it's so cool because you have some incredible judges sitting alongside you, and everyone affiliated with the show is so amazing in their own right. That's why we're all together in this journey.
For sure, for sure. It was really, really good vibes as well. It's like it was the right people, and you feel it. It's like when you have the right people, everything just comes along so perfectly, you know? And it's like your Swivel is a producer, and then Mark is like a drummer, a musician. And I am an artist. I perform, I do stadiums. And so I know how it feels to be on stage and how you can sell a performance and, you know, and the pitch of the voice and everything that goes with it. It's like, it just makes sense that it was us as judges.
Yeah, it definitely does. Well, Diarra, that's all the time that we have for this evening. But thank you so much for hanging out with us on Banded the Encore.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing. I mean, I've been waiting for Encore, and I'm like, okay, when is the Encore coming?
So I'd like to thank the judges for joining me, Mark Schulman, DJ Swivel, and Diarra Sylla. Tune in next Saturday night for the finale of Banded at 9 p.m. Eastern on Access TV. What did you think of tonight's episode? Let us know in the comments. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and rock on.
Time is what we make it. A single moment can be unforgettable. This is the power of wearing a bolova. Make bold moves that reverberate across generations.
VariJet, the best way to travel in a safe, environmentally sensitive, state-of-the-art jet aircraft. VariJet is changing the way people in the know travel. It gets you where you want to be, based on your schedule, not the airlines. No hassle. Fly in perfect comfort, convenience, and safety. Next time you need to fly private. Check out VariJet. It's more affordable than you may think. Everybody is talking about VariJet.